Do you ever think about what happens to people after a war, when the guns go quiet, but all the rules that made the war possible are still in place? I've always been fascinated by that thin, blurry zone where someone stops being a soldier or a prisoner and is supposed to become normal again. So pull your mind a little bit away from your day, because we're going out past the comfortable glow of Earth's cities to the Ouchi Belt, a scatter of rock, half-built moons, and forgotten outposts. Out there, a human lieutenant is being rewarded for his service with something he never asked for. An alien woman delivered to his failing station in a crate, labeled as war compensation. The files say she's a tool. The collar around her neck says she's under someone else's thumb forever. But as the air recycler rattles, the hydroponic lights buzz, and an old toaster keeps breaking and getting put back together, these two start to push against the labels written on their lives. On this cracked little outpost, they're supposed to be owner and asset. Instead, they start building something far more dangerous, in a very quiet way. A shared home that the people in charge never planned for. Outside the bright lines of Earth's cities, there is a ring of cold rock and half-finished moons called the Ouchi Belt. Most people never think about it, but on a cracked little outpost out there, two tired lives are about to touch. A human soldier who wants to stop being a soldier, an alien engineer who has been reduced to a line in a form. They are supposed to meet as owner and asset. Instead, in the quiet hallways of a failing station, they start to build something else. Not a rebellion with guns, not a grand speech, just shared tools, warm lights, strange repairs, a toaster with opinions, a hidden place where a cruel rule starts to fall apart, not with a blast, but with gentle, steady care. And if you listen close, past the hum of old machines and thin air against the dome, you can almost feel a small, forgotten corner of space begin to feel like home. Lieutenant Darren Holt woke to the sound of the air recycler coughing again. It was a harsh, dry rattle that shook the thin wall by his bunk. He lay there for a few seconds, staring at the low ceiling, watching a strip of frost slowly grow along a crack in the insulation. His body wanted to stay in the narrow bed. His training pushed him up. "Good morning, Outpost 7K, he said, voice rough. The station AI answered from the ceiling speaker, smooth and polite. Local time is 6:12. Oxygen level stable. External temperature minus 160 degrees Celsius. You are late for your scheduled maintenance round by 12 minutes. Lieutenant Holt. Yeah, file a complaint, Darren muttered. Swinging his feet onto the cold floor, he pulled on his standard gray jumpsuit, the knees patched with tape only somewhat approved by regulations. His boots clicked on the metal as he stepped into the corridor. The lights came up in a slow, dim wash. The outpost did not like to hurry anymore. Outpost 7K sat on a half-shaped moon at the thin edge of the Ouchi Belt. From orbit, it would look like a set of old domes and towers, half sunk in gray dust. Inside, it felt like living inside an old lung. Pipes lined the walls. Filters hummed. Every breath depended on parts years past their proper replacement date. Darren walked his daily route with a small tablet in his hand, hydroponics first. 3 rows of leafy plants grown under tired blue lamps, their roots in gel instead of soil. He checked pH, noted a small yellow patch on a leaf, and adjusted the nutrient feed. Then power, a squat fusion core sitting like a quiet heart in a round chamber. He checked the numbers, patted the casing once, and added a note about a faint vibration in panel C. Then water. The recycler room where gray water turned clear again, slow and patient. A gentle hiss of steam, a faint rattle from pump aid. He logged it. He would have to fix it with parts meant for something else. It was always like that now. The war was officially over. The messages from Central Command said so in calm, stamped words. Peace accords, joint recovery program, asset compensation. Darren's corner of peace looked like this: leaking seals, tired air, and a long list of deferred support requests. He did not mind the work. The quiet helped. After the flash and noise of the war, the slow life of 7K felt like a long breath. He could walk the whole station in 15 minutes if he skipped the outside check. He almost never skipped it. External walk at 8 o'clock, the AI reminded him as he checked a sensor bank. "I remember," he said. "Any incoming traffic? Negative. No authorized flights within 1 million kilometers. Good. No inspectors, no new orders. Just him, the machines, and the thin wind scratching at the dome." By 8:05 he was in his suit, standing in the small airlock, feeling the old seals groan as they shifted. The outer door opened, and the harsh light of the distant sun cut across the gray dust field. Outside, gravity felt lazy, not gone, just soft. Darren stepped onto the regolith, boots sinking a little with each step. The sky was almost black, pricked with frozen stars. The half-built dome number 3 sat in the distance, ribs of metal rising from the ground like the bones of some giant creature. He checked anchor lines, sensor mass, the thin film that tried to hold a pocket of air under dome 1. He paused at a jagged mark in the regolith where an old explosion had dug a shallow crater. Under the dust here, miles of cables and battle junk still lay twisted together. The war had come close. The war, and all the choices that came with it. He pushed that line of thought away and logged a note about a loose antenna. "I am reading a long-range ping," the AI said in his helmet. "Source, Central Command, Logistics. Incoming object on docking approach. Estimated arrival, 40 minutes. Darren blinked. "I wasn't told about any incoming flights." "Updating," the AI said. "New file. Diplomatic courier, priority level 4. Contents sealed. Delivery verified. Diplomatic priority." Those words meant trouble in his experience. "Route me the file," he said. By the time he cycled back inside and peeled off the suit, the tablet in his hand held a neat block of text. He leaned against a bulkhead and read, 2. Lieutenant Darren Holt, Acting Commander. Outpost 7K from Central Command Post-Conflict Logistics Subject. Delivery of War Compensation Asset. Virelli Engineer Unit. His stomach tightened. Asset. Virelli Engineer Unit. The document went on in cold, tidy lines. Transfer of responsibility. Safekeeping. Genetic leash protocol active. Property of Central Command until further notice. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling an old tiredness settle in his bones. The war had been hard, not just the fighting, the counting, the sorting. Humans in one list, Virelli in another. Dead, missing, captured, traded, asset. He had signed some of those forms. He had told himself he had no choice. Darren pushed off the wall and moved to the small dock. Jaw tight, through the narrow viewport, he saw the shuttle arrive. A boxy, unmanned cargo pod, gray and dull, labeled with codes instead of flags. It latched onto the station with a soft, deep thunk. Docking complete. The AI said, "Please verify receipt." The inner hatch opened with a hiss, and a single crate slid into the bay on a mag sled. It was tall enough to hold a person, sealed with bright security bands. On the side, in clean black print, stood the words, "War Compensation, Asset, Virelli Engineer. Class 3, handle with care." Darren stared at those words for a long breath. His jaw muscles ached from clenching. "Record log," he said. "Diplomatic courier received at 9:02. Asset arrived sealed. No visible damage to container." "Logged," the AI answered. He stepped closer and placed his hand on the crate. The surface was cold, almost slick. "Also log," he said quietly. "That asset is a person." There was a pause. Log entry modified. The AI replied, his chest eased by a fraction. There was a key code on the side. He could have opened it right there, but the bay was drafty, and his mind buzzed with too many thoughts. Instead, he had the crate moved to the common room, which was at least a little warmer and less sterile. The common room was the closest thing to a lounge 7K had, a long table built from storage panels, a couch that had clearly seen better days, a small kitchen nook with Darren's most prized device, an old toaster he had repaired 3 times, its metal sides covered in chipped stickers. He stood in front of the crate and pulled up the release protocol. A red box flashed on the tablet. Warning. Genetic leash active. Remote. Override. Avo whale to Central Command. Alcohol handlers not authorized to modify. Of course not, he muttered. Then, louder. AI, is the leash link live from here? Yes, the AI said. Signal routed through long-range comms. Integrity 99.2%. Can Central send a kill command through it? A longer pause. Yes. His face went tight. Can you block it? I am not authorized to interfere with genetic leash protocols. That wasn't the question, Darren said. Can you? Another pause, faint clicking in the ceiling as some process spun up. Yes, the AI said at last. But such action would be in violation of stop. Don't do anything yet. Just tell me if it's possible. Confirmed. It is possible. He let out a slow breath. Okay. He entered the unlock code. The bands on the crate retracted with a soft metallic sound. The lid lifted on its own, pistons hissing. Inside stood a narrow figure, hands bound at the front with a soft-looking restraint band. Tall, little taller than Darren, with slate-gray skin that shimmered faintly in the room light. Large, dark eyes adjusted quickly, pupils narrowing. Short, fine hair, almost like down, lay flat along a sloped skull. Of Virelli, he had seen them in battle armor, behind energy fields, across ruined streets, never this close, never this quiet. For a moment, they both just looked. Her eyes moved over the room, then settled on him. There was a thin collar at her throat, glowing with a faint green line. The leash node. Status delivered, a flat synthetic voice said from a small speaker inside the crate. It sounded nothing like her. Asset, Liara Vey transferred to handler. Confirm receipt. Darren felt something twist in his chest at that voice, using her name and that word together. In Darren Holt, he said, ignoring the speaker. Acting commander here. Her gaze flicked to his mouth, then back to his eyes. When she spoke, her accent was light but clear. You are the owner. The word cut sharper than he expected. No, he said at once. Am not, and I won't be. The crate speaker crackled. Please confirm receipt of asset Liara Vey. He stepped closer, angling his body so the speaker was at his back and she was in front of him. I need to say some formal words in a minute, he told her, keeping his voice steady. But before that, I want to be clear. You are not my property. You are a guest here. She studied him with a calm, strange patience. Her eyes had a depth he could not name, like looking into a dark lake at night. Guests do not wear control collars, she said. He looked at the green line on her neck. His jaw tightened again. Yeah, he said softly. I hate that thing. Am going to look for a way to shut it down. Her eyebrows, thinner and higher than a human's, lifted by a fraction. Handlers are not allowed to modify the leash, I know, he said, but am not handler either. The speaker crackled louder. Failure to confirm receipt will trigger alert to Central Command. Darren sighed. Just a moment, he said, which was pointless because the speaker was not listening in that way. He raised the tablet and tapped the blinking button. Receipt confirmed, he said in a flat tone. Thank you, the cargo pod system replied. Asset status, delivered, control transferred. Central Command retains full override capability. Have a productive day. The lid folded all the way back. The restraints around Lyra's wrists loosened and withdrew. She stepped out of the crate with careful grace. The slight gravity seemed to bother her less than it bothered Darren. She wore a plain gray jumpsuit similar to his, but cut for her build, with no rank symbols. Only a small code strip at the shoulder marked her as central property. Darren felt a fresh wave of anger at that tiny strip. He forced his tone to stay even. "We're a small station," he said. "There are only 9 permanent rooms. No other crew at the moment. You can choose any room you like, except this one." He nodded toward his own bunk door. "And the storage bay. He'll show you the layout." She tilted her head. "Yes," he said. "You get to choose your own room and your work. I have to keep this place running, but I will not make you a tool." She considered that. "You must assign tasks," she said. "That is the purpose of assets. The system calls you that. I don't." Her gaze softened, just barely. "What will you call me, Liara?" he said, as if that answer was the most obvious in the world. Something in her shoulders eased. "Lieutenant." The AI said calmly from the ceiling, "You have not yet set protocols for asset Liara Vey. Safety guidelines recommend." New entry, Darren cut in. "Liara Vey is not an asset. She is registered here as visiting engineering staff. Access level standard crew. No movement restrictions. Note, any override orders that treat her as property must be routed to me for manual confirmation with full message text attached." There was a faint hum. Entry created. Warning. This conflicts with Central Command's classification of log the conflict, Darren said. "Do it anyway." Confirmed. Liara watched this exchange. Her thin fingers touched the collar at her throat. Not pulling, just feeling the smooth surface. "You cannot erase what they wrote in their files," she said. "No," Darren said, "but I can write something different in mine." Why? He thought of the war, of burned streets, of a Varele child standing very still in a doorway as soldiers rushed past, of reports he had signed without reading every line. "Because I'm tired," he said, "tired of looking at people and seeing assets and targets instead of names." She held his gaze for a long moment. "I am tired too," she said quietly. He nodded once. "Then let's make this place less tiring." He showed her the station. They walked side by side along the narrow corridors. "This is hydroponics," he said, opening the door. Blue light spilled out, making their skin look strange. "Food plants, oxygen support. It's cranky, but it works." She stepped in, eyes going wide at the sight of living green. Her fingers hovered near a leaf without touching. "You grow these in gel," she said. "We used salt foam." He tried to picture that. "You were an engineer?" "Yes, structures and flows." She glanced up at the light strips. "These are not balanced. The plants will tire too soon." He smiled a little. "You can change them, if you want." He took her to the power room, the recycler, the sensor bay. She walked with a quiet focus, eyes always moving, noting joins, cables, small flickers of loss in the systems. At the common room door, he paused. "This is kind of the heart of the place," he said. "Such as it is." She stepped inside and took in the low couch, the long table, the old toaster on the counter. "What is that?" she asked, pointing to it. "That," Darren said with a small grin, "is the single most important device on this station. The toaster. It breaks all the time, and I keep saving it." "Why?" Her tone held real curiosity. He shrugged. "Bread tastes better warm, and it gives me something small to fix. Not a whole war, just coils and springs." She moved closer to the toaster, studying it as if it were some strange animal. "It has a face," she said, tapping a small, faded sticker of a cartoon smile he had stuck on the side years ago. "May I have a room near the hydroponics chamber?" she asked. "The sound there is gentle." Signed, "There is gentle." He blinked, surprised and oddly pleased. "Sure. Room 5 is free. It shares a wall." "Thank you," she said. He hesitated, then spoke more firmly. "Ground rules," he said. "Just to be clear, I won't order you around. If I ask you to do something and you don't want to, say so. If Central tries to send you a command through that collar that hurts or feels wrong, you tell me right away. I'll do what I can to stop it." Her hand went to her neck again, fingers gentle. "You cannot break the leash," she said. "We cannot break the leash," she said. It sounded like something she had been told many times. "Maybe not today," he said, "but I can start looking." He moved to a wall panel and pulled it open, revealing a mess of wires and small notes. "AI, route me full documentation on remote genetic leash protocols." "Access denied." The AI replied at once. "Those files are restricted. Show me the index headers only," he said. "No content. Just names." A pause. "Index headers displayed," the AI said. Lines of sterile titles filled his tablet screen. Signal trees. Signal trees. Control handshakes. Fail-safe codes. Emergency termination. He swallowed hard at that last one. "Save them for offline reading," he said. "If they find out you are doing this, they will punish you," she said. "Then, I guess we both have something to lose," he said. "But for now, you need rest, and I need to fix the recycler before it decides air is optional." For the first time, the corners of her mouth moved upward in a small, careful smile. It changed her whole face, made her seem younger. "Your air is important," she said. "I would like you to keep it." "That's the plan," he said, and felt something small and steady settle in his chest. "Not yet, but maybe the start of it." By the next morning, the outpost felt different. Darren noticed it as soon as he woke. The air recycler was still humming, but the tone had shifted. Less rattle, more steady breath. He sat up and listened, frowning slightly. Status on recycler 8. Performance increased by 12%, the AI replied. Vibration reduced. Adjustment made by visiting engineer Liara Vey at 3:14 local time. At 3 in the morning, Darren rubbed his eyes. Did she sleep at all? Unknown. The AI said, Birelli circadian patterns are not in my base data. He pulled on his jumpsuit and stepped out into the corridor. The lights came up brighter than usual, but softer on the eyes, without the harsh flicker he had grown used to. He touched the wall. It felt the same. But something in the air felt tuned. He found Liara in hydroponics. She was standing among the rows of plants, sleeves rolled up, hands deep in a nutrient tank. The blue lights above had been shifted. Some warmer strips added between them. The plants looked more awake somehow. Leaves lifted. Cables ran from the light rig to a small device on the floor that Darren had never seen before. It looked like it had been built from spare sensor housings in an old fan. "Good morning," he said. She glanced back at him. Eyes bright. "The hydrogen mix was wrong," she said, as if they had already been talking. It made the plants anxious. The plants were anxious, he repeated, lips twitching. "How can you tell?" She pointed to a row of leaves. "See these edges? They curl. The gel bubbles in a certain pattern. It is like clenching." He squinted, then nodded slowly. "Okay. So what did you do?" "I changed the feed rate." She nodded toward the odd little device. "And I made this. It sings them the right rhythm." Darren stared. "You built a plant music box." Her head tilted. "It is just modulation of current," she said. "Your systems run in stiff pulses. Plants like waves." The device emitted a very faint sound, more a feeling in the chest than a noise in the ear. A soft, slow rise and fall, like the sea he had only seen in old videos. He realized his shoulders were lowering, his own breath matching that slow rise and fall. "Huh," he said quietly. "Maybe I like waves too." She gave that small, careful smile again. He walked between the rows, checking gauges. Numbers that had hovered just above minimum now sat comfortably in the middle of the green zone. "I didn't assign you this," he said. "You know you don't have to fix everything." "I know," she said. "I could not sleep. The air felt wrong. So I walked." She gestured toward the ceiling. The recycler was shaking. "I adjusted it." "You adjusted it how?" he asked. She wiped her hands on a towel and moved to the wall panel, opening it with quick fingers. Inside, a bundle of colored wires and tubes ran in tight lines. I listened. She said simply, "Then I moved some paths." He looked closer. It was more than that. She had pulled 3 separate lines and braided. No, grouped them together through a new junction, adding a small loop made from what looked like a piece of stripped communication cable. "That's not in any manual I've seen," he said. "Your manuals are for new machines," she replied. "This station is old. It has habits." She searched for the right word. "You treat them like fresh recruits. But they are veterans. They know how they want to run. I just remind them." There it was again. The way she talked about systems like living things. He found it oddly kind. Walking back toward the main corridor, he noticed more small changes. A flicker sensor that had glitched for months now held steady. At the main junction, Liara had added small marks to the wall with a piece of chalk she must have found in storage somewhere. Simple symbols, like little waves and arrows. "What are those?" he asked, touching a mark shaped like a high curve. Flow indicators, she said. For me, your maps are very square. Yes, she said. That is the problem. His tablet pinged. He glanced at it. A list of minor alerts had dropped off overnight. AI, he said. How many system adjustments did Liara make? 17, the AI replied. All within safe parameters. Efficiency increased in 8 subsystems. Noise levels reduced in 5. Darren looked at Liara. You were busy. I had nothing else to do, she said. There was no complaint in her tone, just fact. Well, he said, I should at least show you the mess room, if you're going to fix my entire station in one night. We're going to fix my entire station in one night. She followed him back to the common room. When they entered, he stopped short. The toaster had lights. At some point, Liara had opened it. Its side panel was still off, small tools laid out on a cloth next to it. Inside, tiny new strips of flexible light clung to the frame wired into the power feed. The old heating coils glowed a healthier orange, but the stranger part was the small speaker now attached to the front, just under the sticker face. What did you do to my toaster? Darren asked, half alarmed, half amused. It was bored, she said. It only had 2 states, off and on, so I gave it more. As if on cue, the toaster chimed in a cheerful tone. Status, I feel warm and appreciated, it said. Darren stared. You gave the toaster a voice. Yes, she said. I adapted a subroutine from the AI and attached it. The station AI spoke from the ceiling, sounding mildly put out. I would like to state that the toaster now has 12% of my expressive capacity. You'll survive, Darren said, still looking at the toaster. I like bread, the toaster announced. I exist to make it better. This brings me joy. Darren started to laugh. A surprising, rough sound that startled him as much as it seemed to startle Liara. He leaned on the table, shoulders shaking. That is not standard, the AI observed. No, Darren said, catching his breath. No, it really isn't. Liara watched him, head tilted. Is laughter good? She asked, as if it were a measurement she could log. It is today, he said. The toaster beeped. I would like to perform my primary function, it said. Darren went to the supply bin and pulled out 2 slices from the sealed pack. He slid them in. The toaster hummed, lights along its side, pulsing gently. Toasting, it said, in a serious tone, transforming simple starch into comfort. He realized she was trying not to smile too widely, as if it might break some rule. She still felt around her. When the toast popped up, it was perfect, golden, not burned, not pale. He handed her a slice. This is the right way to meet a new crew member, he said. She took the toast carefully, sniffed it, then bit. Her eyes widened. It crunches and softens at the same time, she said. Strange good. Yes. Strange good. They ate in a small, companionable silence. As days passed, the outpost kept changing in these small, quiet ways. Liara never asked for tasks. She simply moved through the station, touching things that buzzed or rattled, listening with her fingers and her head tilted as if catching a tune only she could hear. The AI began to shift, too. At first it had been polite and flat, a standard central command station system. But after Liara patched in new subroutines for the toaster, some of her changes fed back. AI. Status on outer antenna 3. Darren asked during a systems check 2 days later. It is hanging on by sheer stubbornness, the AI replied primly. Dan, stubbornness. Dan, Darren blinked. Did you just say sheer stubbornness? Yes, the AI said. This seems to be an accurate description. He glanced at Liara, who was lying on her back under a console, half inside a panel. Did you change the AI's language pack? He asked. I only removed some limits, she said. It wanted more adjectives. I did, the AI added. You have been a very restrictive conversational partner, Lieutenant Holt. I liked you boring, Darren muttered, but there was no heat in it. I do not wish to be boring, the AI said. I wish to be interesting. The toaster chimed in from the counter. Interesting is when I burn bread, just a little so the taste is deeper, but not too much. Too much is bad. I learned this last cycle. Please do not burn the bread, the AI said. We have limited supplies. I will not, the toaster said. I have learned from my mistakes. This is called growth. Darren pinched the bridge of his nose, but he was smiling. Hydroponics began to glow at night. Liara had brought in a set of small vials from a crate he had forgotten about in storage. Samples of Virelli bioluminescent algae, sent for study during the war. Then lost in the flood of more urgent tasks. These were meant to be weapons research, she said softly. Looking at the labels, they wanted to see if they could make them cling to hulls, mark ships. What do they do, really? He asked. There are many kinds, she said. Some glow brighter when they sense heat. Some like certain metals. Some change color with sound. They are better than flares. She sat cross-legged by the nutrient tanks and carefully thawed the samples, speaking to the algae in words Darren did not know. The liquid in the vials began to shimmer. Within a day, thin strands of light climbed the plant roots. At night, when the main lights dimmed, hydroponics filled with a gentle green and blue shine. The plants looked like they were holding tiny stars. Darren found himself going there before bed, just to stand and watch. The outpost slowly stopped, feeling like an old machine, waiting to die, and began to feel like something between a ship and a small town. They developed quiet habits. Every evening after maintenance rounds, Darren would make tea, thin and slightly bitter, but warm, and bring 2 cups to the rooftop. The rooftop was a flat stretch of reinforced surface on top of Dome 1, with a simple rail and a few chairs bolted down. The air was too thin to breathe outside, but a small, transparent shelter covered half of it. It was just enough to sit under and feel close to the sky without a full suit. They would sit side by side, cups in hand, looking out at the gray rocks, and the dark, star-pinned sky. The distant sun was small here, more like a bright coin than a warm disk. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they did not. On a quiet evening, Liara asked, "Do you miss Earth?" He thought about the green fields of his childhood, the wet smell after rain, the way the sky had felt too big before the war, and then too small during it. "I miss parts of it," he said, "but I don't miss the noise, the orders, the feeling that someone is always watching." "Someone is always watching here," she said, touching her collar. "Yeah," he said, "I know." He had not forgotten the leash. Every spare hour, he dug through whatever logs and manuals he could reach from this edge of space. Most doors stayed locked. Some small ones opened. He began to map the leash signal paths, like a person tracing veins under skin, Liara noticed. Of course she did. In the common room, one afternoon, she found him staring at a diagram on his tablet, jaw tight. "You will not find the key code," she said gently. "They do not keep it on stations like this." "I'm not looking for the code," he said. "I'm looking for where it plugs in. If I can't break the leash, maybe I can pad it. Like putting a blanket over a sharp corner." She studied the diagram. "You are tracing the relay nodes," she said. "If you cut that one," she pointed, "they will know. It will scream." "What if I confuse it instead?" he asked. "Feed it false signals. Make it think you are nowhere important." She raised an eyebrow. "You want to lie to a leash?" "Yeah," he said. "Is that stupid?" She considered, then shook her head. Slowly, "It is kind," she said, "not stupid." They kept their routines. During work hours, they moved around each other like people in a small kitchen, passing tools, sharing space, not touching much, but always aware of where the other was. Darren began to notice Lyra's small habits. When a loud clang sounded somewhere, she would flinch, then force her shoulders down, eyes going distant for a second, as if fighting off an old image. At night, if the station's gravity plates flickered, a common glitch, making everything feel too light or too heavy, she would move closer to a wall, palm flat, grounding herself. She liked to sit where she could see doors. He did not point these things out. He just made quiet adjustments. He warned her before he tried any big repairs that might send a crash through the hull. He took extra care to fix the gravity plates near her chosen room first. He left the door to the common room open more often, so she could always see way out. She noticed his habits too. When a central command message came through, his back went stiff and his face smoothed out into a stricter, colder version of itself. He read faster than he breathed, thumb hovering near the acknowledge button. Like it was a trigger, he worked until his hands shook before he let himself rest. He checked pressure seals 3 times before sleep. One evening on the rooftop, as the small sun dipped just behind the curve of the half-built dome, she said quietly, "You do not have to answer every call right away." He gave a short laugh. "Tell that to my training officer." "I am telling it to you," she said. "The war is over. They cannot shoot you for being late to read a file. He looked down at his cup. Tea had filmed over with a thin skin in the cold air. Feels like they could, he said. Old habits. I know about those, she replied. They sat in silence for a while. Below them, hydroponics glowed gently, visible through the dome. The outpost hummed, a low, many-layered sound of pumps and fans, and the new rhythm device playing its slow, soft wave. This place was a graveyard when I arrived, Darren said, almost to himself. Just me and the machines, keeping each other from falling apart. And now? She asked. He looked around. The station lights no longer flickered like failing stars. The air smelled faintly of plants instead of just metal. The toaster muttered to itself in the kitchen about bread ratios. The AI complained about being given menial calculations and then did them anyway. Now it feels like a strange little town, he said. A very small, very odd town with exactly 2 citizens and a very chatty toaster. The toaster is not a citizen. The AI put in from the ceiling. It is an appliance. I am more than an appliance. The toaster protested. I have opinions. Liara's laugh came out light and surprised. Darren turned his head, watching her face soften again, the lines of wary tension easing. In that moment, Outpost 7K did not feel like a prison, or a forgotten posting, or the place Central had sent him to be quietly used up. It felt like a shared, fragile home, not safe in any grand, official way, but safe in the way that came from 2 people agreeing, every day in small choices, not to treat each other like tools. He sipped his cooling tea and let his shoulders rest against the chair. Far away, Earth's bright cities went on with their busy peace. Here, on a half-shaped moon in the Ouchi Belt, a human and a Virelli sat under a thin dome, listening to their odd living station breathe around them. They did not know yet that Central Command would soon remember them. For now, there was only the quiet clink of cups, the soft glow of algae below, and the low, steady hum of a place that had started, against all expectations, to feel alive. 3 weeks after the crate arrived, Outpost 7K was running better than it had in years. Hydroponics numbers stayed green. The recycler hummed like it had found its favorite rhythm. The AI gave sarcastic comments but filed every report on time. The toaster had started printing short messages on toast using darker and lighter burn marks. Simple things like hey and eat slow. Darren almost let himself think they had slipped into a safe, quiet pattern. He was in the sensor bay with a panel open, knee-deep in cables, when the AI spoke. Lieutenant Holt, it said. Unmarked vessel on approach vector. Speed and profile match military shuttle class. No prior notice in schedule. Cold slid into his stomach. Show me, he said. The screen on the wall lit with a grainy image. A dark, sharp-edged shuttle, cut through the black, no markings on its hull. Its drives flared steady, controlled and calm. ID. Darren asked. Transponder is broadcasting a secure central command code, the AI said. Authentication. Clean, no logged flight plan to this station. This is irregular. Irregular was a soft word for it. Surprise visits out here usually meant inspection, trouble, or both. Time to dock, he asked. 18 minutes, the AI replied. Liara was in hydroponics. Tuning the wave device, he heard the faint rise and fall of its sound even from here. She looked up as he entered, reading his face at once. Something is wrong, she said. Shuttle coming in, he said. Unmarked, central code, no notice. Her hand went to her collar before she seemed to think about it. The green line along it glowed soft and steady. They are here for me, she said quietly. It was not a question. Maybe, he said, or maybe they just like surprise visits on dying stations. He tried to make his voice light, but it came out flat. She stepped out from between the plant rows, drying her hands. Who will it be? She asked. Whoever it is, they outrank me, he said. So that'll be fun. He touched his ear. AI, any name on the incoming shuttle record. Commander Ivanhoe. Central Command, Compliance, and Recovery, Darren swore. Under his breath, you know him? Liara asked. No, he said. But I know the office. They handle post-conflict assets. Her shoulders stiffened. He forced himself to breathe slow. We have a few minutes. Come with me. They went to the small observation window by the dock. The shuttle grew larger there, a gray bullet against the dark. Hell expect you in restraints, Darren said. I know, she replied. Her jaw was set. I'm not putting you in them, he said. She turned her head sharply. If you do not, they will punish you, she said. They will think you are attached. She seemed to dislike the word. Too late, the toaster said from the common room doorway. He is already attached. He yells when you forget to eat. Stay out of this, Darren called back. I have feelings, the toaster replied. They matter. Liara's lips twitched for a second. Then, smoothed. We need a plan, she said. Fast. Plan is simple, he said. We play along as much as we can without selling your soul. I stall. I argue paperwork. You do not agree to anything without looking at me first. She studied his face. You still think this can be solved with forms? Forms are the only weapons I'm allowed now, he said. The shuttle latched onto the dock ring with a clean, heavy thud that Darren felt in his chest. The inner hatch cycled. Air pushed in, slightly different pressure, slightly different taste. Boots clanged on the metal. Commander Ivanhoe stepped through the hatch. He looked like Central Command in human form. Tall, neat, controlled. His dark hair was cut sharp. His uniform was pressed and clean, not a single loose thread. A thin data band glowed on his left wrist. No visible gun, but Darren could see the shape of a sidearm under the coat edge. 2 security officers followed him, rifles folded against their chests. Their faces were blank, eyes scanning. Their boots sounded too loud in the old station. Lieutenant Darren Holt, the commander said, holding out a hand. Darren shook it. The grip was firm, dry, and quick. "Commander Hale," he said, "welcome to Outpost 7K. We don't get many visitors." Hale's gaze moved past him, taking in the worn walls, the mess of patched cables. "I read your maintenance logs on the way," he said. "Impressive work, given your supply list." "Impressive," the AI muttered softly through a nearby speaker. "I told you." Darren shot the ceiling a warning look. Hale's eyes flicked up, noting the exchange. "Your AI seems relaxed," Hale said. "It gets bored," Darren said. "Long tours alone will do that to a system." Hale's mouth curved in what might have been a smile for half a second, then settled back to neutral. "And this must be the Varelli engineer," he said, turning to Liara. She stood straight, hands at her sides, color glowing at her throat. Her face was calm, but Darren, who had watched her for weeks, could see the tightness in her shoulders. "Liara Vey," she said evenly. "War compensation asset Liara Vey," Hale corrected, not unkindly, just as if he were adjusting a fact. Darren's jaw worked. "Here, she is registered as visiting engineering staff," he said. "I sent an update to Central 2 weeks ago." "I saw it," Hale said. "It was noted as a clerical error and returned." "So you've come all this way to fix my clerical error?" Darren asked. Hale's eyes rested on him. They were a clear gray, very watchful. "I've come because this asset is overdue for transfer to a secure facility," he said. "She was never meant to stay on a fringe station long term. She's been useful," Darren said. "The station is much more stable with her here." "You saw the logs." "Yes," Hale said. "Which makes it all the more clear that she is too valuable to leave on a forgotten rock with one tired lieutenant and a talkative toaster." "I am important," the toaster called from the hall. Hale paused. "Was that the toaster?" he asked. "Yes," the AI said. "Lieutenant Holt's emotional support appliance." Darren closed his eyes for a second. "AI. Mute side comments," he said. "Rude," the toaster mumbled. "Going quiet." Hale raised an eyebrow, but did not push. "Central Command has plans for Varelli engineers," he said. "Joint projects under proper supervision. The accords are clear." "Joint projects," Liara repeated softly. "You mean control labs?" Hale looked at her. "You were a weapons engineer during the war," he said. "Your people caused significant damage. Central has a duty to ensure your skills are used safely now. And safely means in a cage," she said. "Safely means somewhere we can see you," he said. "Somewhere with full medical support, full data access. Not here, at the end of supply lines, with a commander who adjusts your status on his own." His tone did not attack. That made it worse. He sounded like a man reading rules he agreed with. "Lieutenant Holt," he went on, turning back to Darren. "I need to see all leash protocol logs since Vey arrived, and I need confirmation that you have not attempted to tamper with them." Darren's skin went cold. "We followed protocol." He lied at once. Liara's eyes flicked to him. He did not look back. Hale studied his face for a long second. "I'm sure you've tried to be decent," he said. "Most post-war posts do. It's human. But your decency does not override central law. What if central law is wrong? Darren asked before he could stop himself. One of the security officers shifted, hand brushing the rifle grip. Hale did not raise his voice. Then you bring it up through the proper channels, he said. You don't rewrite classifications on a whim in a forgotten station and hope no one notices. No one did notice, Darren said. Until now, Central notices more than you think, Hale said. We are slow, but we are not blind. He gestured down the hall. We're not going to stand in the dock all day. Show me the command room. They walked together along the corridor. The security officers stayed close. Eyes moving, boots hitting the deck in a careful, trained rhythm. The outpost, which had felt like home an hour ago, now felt too small. Every patched cable looked like a crime. Every soft light seemed like a signal that they had done something wrong just by making this place kind. In the command room, Hale took the central chair without asking. Darren moved to a side console, jaw tight. AI, Hale said easily. This is Commander Riven Hale. Override code Gamma 7. I am assuming temporary command of this station's data systems for inspection. The AI hesitated, then said, Override code accepted. Command authority shared between Lieutenant Darren Holt and Commander Riven Hale for the duration of the visit. Thank you, Hale said. Now, display genetic leash logs for Asset Virali engineer Liara Vey. On the main screen, lines of data scrolled. Activation on arrival. Status checks every 6 hours. Remote ping from Central every 3 days. No direct kill commands. Thank whatever small luck they had. You have not attempted to cut or block the signal, Hale said, scanning. Of course not, Darren said. His throat felt dry. Hale tapped the data band on his wrist, calling up something there only he could see. But you did adjust her station status, Hale went on, and you set a local rule to route any property orders through you. That's called looking out for my crew, Darren said. That's called soft resistance, Hale replied. It makes some people nervous. Some people, Darren said, need to spend 6 months on a leaking dome with nothing but broken pipes and bad coffee. It helps you understand what actually matters. Hale's lips pulled into a thin line that was almost a smile. What matters to Central is order, he said. Peace is fragile. We're holding it together with careful lines. Virali tech on the loose is not part of that plan. I'm not on the loose, Liara said from the doorway. She had stayed back but now stepped forward, chin raised. I am standing right here. Under your eyes, you are standing here now, Hale said. But you won't be for long. There it was, the hard line. Commander Darren said, holding on to his temper by its edges. With respect, look at the numbers. She's made the station safer. Power is stable. Oxygen is up. That means I'm up here not just babysitting machines, but also not sending emergency calls that waste your ships and fuel. I've read the numbers, Hale said. She's very good at what she does. That's why she belongs in a controlled center. Not here. You're talking about her like a piece of rare equipment, Darren said. Hale's gaze hardened a little. I'm talking about her like something that could turn a station like this into a bomb if she decided to. The leash keeps everyone honest. Lyra's voice stayed calm, but her eyes were dark. The leash keeps you in charge, she said. Yes, he said simply. That too. Silence hung in the small room. Lieutenant, I do not enjoy this argument, he said. I am not a monster. I do not hate Virelli. The war is done, but my job is not to feel. My job is to enforce the Accords. Section 9, Paragraph 4. All high-value enemy tech and personnel will be centralized under joint monitoring within 1 standard year of signing. We are behind schedule. You could delay her transfer, Darren said. Site, station risk. We have fragile systems. One wrong move, and you have done a remarkable job with limited parts. Hale cut in. You'll keep doing it. Central will send you a basic tech team once Vey is gone. He paused. You may even get rotated out early as thanks. A promotion. A better post. You've earned it, the words hit. Like blows. A better post. A way back. A neat reward if he just let them take her. His mind flashed to Earth's green fields. Warm rain. Streets with shops instead of blast marks. A small apartment. Real coffee. Real coffee. He could have that, maybe. All he had to do was say yes, sign the form. Stand aside. He looked at Liara. She stood very still, face carefully blank, but her fingers worked against her jumpsuit. Small, tight motions. You should go with them, she said suddenly. Both men turned to her. What? Darren asked. You should let them take me, she said. Eyes on him. If you fight, they will crush you. This station is nothing to them. You will lose your rank, maybe your freedom. For me, her tone was flat, but not mocking, hurt under it. You're not nothing, he said. I am an asset, she said. That is what their files say. If I go, you will be safe. You can ask for Earth, for rest. I can see it when you look at the sky. Hale watched this exchange closely, saying nothing. Nothing. Darren felt something crack inside. I am not trading you for a better view, he said. This is not your choice, she said. It is mine. I have lived under leashes and orders my whole life. I know how to survive inside their walls. You do not. You will be crushed. Hale cleared his throat. For what it is worth, he said quietly. It is strict, but there are windows. Food. Limits. Yes, but no random cruelty. We are trying to be better than the war. You are holding living minds under collars. You are writing asset over their names. How is that better? Hale's mouth pressed thin. Because you are alive, he said. Because we are not shooting you in pits. Progress is not clean. That is a very small line to draw, Darren said. I don't draw the lines, Hale said. I just walk them We can talk circles all day. The order stands. Liara Vey is to be transferred today. Security will escort her to the shuttle in 2 hours. Pack what you need. Lyra's shoulders slumped. Just a little, then straightened again. I will go, she said. No, Darren said at once. She turned to him, eyes sharp. You do not get to choose for me, she said. Not you, not them. If my choice is cage or your ruin, then I choose cage. I will not be the knife they use on you. His breath caught. You are not a knife, he said. Voice firm now. Stand down. This is hard. I know that. But this is the best path we have in this broken piece. You can serve it, or you can break yourself against it. Darren stared at the floor. Lines of old scuffs crossed under his boots. He had been a good soldier. He had followed orders. He had done ugly things in clean ways. Told himself it was for the greater peace. Now here he was, on a forgotten rock, being offered a neat way out if he just stepped aside and let the system carry Liara away, like any other crate. He thought of the day she arrived, her first breath in the common room, her cautious touch on the leaves, her soft laugh at the toaster, the way the station hummed better around her, like a body breathing easier with a healthy heart. He lifted his head. No, he said again. But calmer now. We're not doing this. Hale's jaw tightened. Lieutenant Holt, there's a third way, Darren said. Not your cages, not open rebellion. Something else. Liara looked at him, eyes wide now. What are you thinking? She asked. AI, Darren said. Pull up the deep scan you did last month in the outer field. The one with the strange radiation spike. On a side screen, a messy graph appeared. A peak sat like a tooth at the far edge. I marked it as junk, Darren said. Old war trash. I was wrong. Liara, you said something about it, remember? She stepped closer, scanning. Her eyes narrowed. That is not junk, she said. That is a buried beacon, virally make. Very old, Hale frowned. What does this have to do with anything? During the war, Darren said slowly, we used beacons to mark priority targets, supply lines, distress calls. Some are still out there buried under dust, pinging into the dark. Central tracks them. So do any war scavengers still out there? And, Hale asked, and this station still has one under its feet. Darren said, a Virelli war beacon sending faint signals. That's a risk, right, Commander? Central might decide 7K is not worth holding if they ever notice. Easier to just wipe it from the map. Hale's eyes went to the graph. If that beacon is active, yes, it is a risk, he said carefully. I would file a report. Recommend a sweep and removal. Or we could handle it our way, Darren said. He looked at Liara. You said you can put things to sleep. She understood at once. I can bury it, she said. Not just under rock, under noise. Make it sound like background. Hale's gaze moved between them. You are suggesting what? He asked. Hiding a war device from Central? That's not a minor offense, Lieutenant. I'm suggesting we make this outpost less visible, Darren said, to everyone. Central, scavengers, old enemies. You said yourself they forgot to send anyone here for years. Let's help them keep forgetting. Hale stared at him. You want to vanish, he said slowly. Yes, Darren said. You send your report. Beacon removed. Station failing. Not worth the cost. Central crosses us off. No one comes looking. No leash pings. No asset transfers. Just nothing. That is desertion, Hale said. For you. And theft of Central property. For her, Darren shrugged. But his hands shook. Call it what you like. I call it getting out from under a system that treats people like tools, quietly. No guns, no banners. Liara spoke, voice low, but steady. You could help us, she said to Hale. If you write the report that way, they will believe it. You have more weight than he does. Hale's face showed real anger now. Not shouting anger. Deep, quiet anger. You are asking me to fake a report to hide a high-value asset and let a station slip out of control, he said. That is not a small thing. That is not just a form. That is treason. You are already tired, Liara said softly. I can see it. In your eyes. You walk lines you did not draw. You say we are better now, but hear yourself not believe it. This is a chance to draw a small line yourself, instead of just walking theirs. Her words hit him like a physical thing. He flinched before he caught himself. Darren spoke again. Commander, he said. You said peace is fragile. I agree. But peace built on collars and fear won't last. Maybe this small place can be different. A seed of something better. 2 species living together without leashes and guns in every room. Seeds grow, the AI said quietly, almost to itself, often without permission. Hale stared at the main screen, not seeing the data there now. Silence stretched. The security officers shifted uneasily, but held their positions. You are asking me to risk everything I have left, Hale said finally. My career, my name, for a theory, for an outpost no one cares about. For a toaster and 2 tired people who think they can live outside the lines. The toaster believes in us, the toaster said from the hall. I make very good toast. This matters. Darren almost laughed, but his throat was too tight. You can walk away clean, he said to Hale. Take her. File the transfer. Go home a good officer. I'll patch my leaks without her. Until I break. That's the safe path. The easy one. He took a breath. Or you can help us vanish. Risk everything. Not for glory. Not for medals. No one will ever know. But you'll know you did one thing that wasn't just pushing the same old weight down. Hale's eyes closed for a moment. I have a family, he said quietly. 2 kids on Mars. A partner who thinks my job is dull. Safe. If I do this and they catch me, I never see them again outside a cell. Liara stepped closer, hands open. Do not do it for us, then, she said. Do it for them. So they grow up in a world with at least one less caller, even if they never know why. The room seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Hale opened his eyes. They looked older. You will need more than a buried beacon to hide, he said. Central tracks power use, relay pings, fuel records. You'll light up every time you flush a toilet if you don't mask it. I can build ghosts, Liara said at once, understanding he was not saying no. Decoy patterns make it look like we are somewhere we are not, or that we died. Darren's heart thumped hard. Outpost 7K failed. Loss of crew. Cause structural collapse. Beacon destabilization. Take your pick, he said. We send that in, then go quiet. Hale stared at them both. He looked tired in a way that went past sleep. If I do this, he said very slowly, you cannot contact Central. Ever. No little messages. No asking for parts. No just checking in. You will be ghosts. You will fix your leaks alone. You will live with every little danger without help. Not much different from now, Darren said. Hale gave him a sharp look. Then, finally, he nodded once. Like a man stepping off a ledge he never meant to stand on. You have one shot at this, he said. You bury that beacon so deep, no scanner in the belt can find it. You build your ghosts. It'll stay just long enough to make sure your fake failure looks real. In the system, he pointed a finger at Darren. But if I think you're sloppy, if I think you're playing at this like it's a game, I will shut it down and drag you both back in chains. Am I clear? Clear, Darren said. His voice shook. Yes, sir. Hale turned to Liara. And you, he said, if you use what I'm about to do to hurt people later, if you turn this hidden rock into a weapon base, I will hunt you down myself. Leash or no leash? She met his eyes without flinching. I am done with weapons, she said. I want to build gardens and quiet places. That is all. He held her gaze for a long second, then gave a small grim nod. Then we are committed, he said. He looked up at the ceiling. AI, new orders. Lock external transmissions to my terminal only for the next 24 hours. All outgoing traffic goes through me. Confirmed, the AI said. May I ask why? Because, Hale said, sinking back into the chair, we're about to make a very neat mess in the records, and then we're going to erase ourselves out of them. The security officers stared, eyes wide. One of them finally spoke. Commander, is this authorized? No, Hale said. Which is why you are going to forget all the details the moment you leave this station. You saw a damaged beacon. You saw us try to remove it. You saw a failure. You saw loss. He looked at Darren and Liara. Get your suits, he said. Show me this buried war heart of yours. As they turned to go, Darren caught Liara's eye. He saw fear there, and shock, and something else, something that looked a lot like the thin, stubborn start of hope. The beacon lay under 6 meters of dust and old wire. Darren's boots sank deep as he and Liara crossed the gray field outside Dome 1. The sun was low and sharp, throwing long shadows from the half-finished metal ribs of Dome 3. Commander Hale followed a few steps behind in his own suit, 2 security officers at his back, all of them small shapes against the wide, cold ground. Signal peak is here, the AI said in Darren's helmet. Beneath your feet. Depth 6.2 meters. Forelli, make, wartime model. Like a buried tooth, Darren muttered. Teeth can be removed, Liara said. Her breath fogged the inside of her visor in short, steady puffs. They set up the cutter rig, a simple tripod with a focused drill beam. One of the few decent tools Central had sent years ago. It cut through dust and frozen rock in a bright, clean circle. Minutes later, the drill hit metal. A dull clang came up through Darren's boots. There you are, he said softly. They widened the hole, then stepped back as the rig's arm clamped onto whatever lay below. And pulled and pulled, the beacon rose out of the ground. Like a dull, black pod, scarred and scored, cables trailing like dead roots. It was the size of a man's torso, with faint Virelli markings along its side, and a soft, sickly glow at its core. In Darren's helmet, the AI's voice came slightly more tense, signal strength increasing. It is waking up. Hale studied the device, visor reflection, hiding his face. If this thing flares, every old war scanner within range will look this way, he said. We're standing on a big, bright target. I know, Liara said. That is why we change its song. She knelt by the beacon, hands moving with careful skill, despite her thick gloves. Close up, Darren could see the design was smoother than human tech, more grown than built, but still damaged by time and rock. Liara touched a faint ridge on its surface. It was placed here to call ships, she said. 1,000 small pings, always shouting. Come, 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 now we make it hum. Instead, nothing here. Go away. Hale watched the way she handled it, both wary and impressed. You can do that from out here, he asked. Yes, she said. If I had my proper tools, I could do more. But this is enough. She sat a small bundle of parts next to the beacon, pieces she had thrown together from scrap in the hours since their decision. Tiny coils, a half-melted sensor plate, a sliver of Virelli metal she had filed off her own toolkit. What is that? Darren asked. A mask, she said, for its voice. She plugged the scrap bundle into a hairline crack on the beacon's side, fingers sure and gentle. The glow at its core flickered, then steadied to a lower, slower pulse. AI read out? Darren asked. Signal pattern changing, the AI said, amplitude dropping. frequency drifting into background noise band. If I did not know it was there, I would miss it. Good, Liara said. Now we bury it proper. They lowered the beacon back into the hole. This time, instead of packing dust loosely over it, Liara had Darren bring out bags of mixed scrap, bits of old hull, broken antennae, cracked ceramic plates. She poured them in layers, then dust, then more scrap, then dust again. It will scatter, she said. Any scan will see a messy grave of junk, not a clean point. Hale helped, his neat gloves getting dusty, boots sliding. Feels like hiding a crime, he said. We are hiding a ringing bell, Liara said, so we can sleep. When the hole was filled, the ground looked like any other patch of gray, only a faint circle in the dust showed where they had worked. Darren stood there a moment, staring down. Goodbye, he said softly. You've sung enough. What did you say? Hale asked. Nothing, Darren said. Just talking to old ghosts. They walked back to the airlock in a slow line. The station loomed ahead, domes and towers, patched and strange hydroponics dome, glowing faintly green at the base, like a heartbeat. Inside, they peeled off suits in silence. The station's air felt almost thick after the thin outside tasted of plants and metal, and the ever-present hint of machine oil. Beacon is now part of the background, the AI reported. No unusual spikes, no strong pings. It hums like old space. Stage 1 complete, Hale said. Now we make your station die. They met in the command room. Screens lit the small space with pale light. On one, a map of local power flows. On another, long-range relay paths. On a third, the simple central command form for reporting a station failure, blank and waiting. Liara stood by the wall panel she had claimed weeks ago, tools ready. Darren sat at his usual side station. Hale took the main chair, security officers by the door. First, you have to drop out of the main grid, Hale said. If you keep pinging relay satellites, someone will notice sooner or later. I can bend the pings, Liara said. Send them a loop that looks like noise, like a storm out on the belt. She opened the wall panel and reached into the nest of cables. Her fingers moved fast, joining 3 lines, cutting a 4th, adding a small hand-built module that looked like a rough cube of wires and tape. AI, route external comms through Liara's module, Darren ordered. That module does not exist in my schematics, the AI said. It does now, Darren said. Trust her. A pause. Routing. The AI said. On the relay screen, thin colored lines showed where the station's signals met the bigger net. As Liara worked, those lines began to wobble, then blur like something seen through heat waves. There, she said, from outside, it will look like we are inside a cloud of dust that scrambles things. No clear location, no clear signal. Will they believe that? Darren asked. The belt is messy, Hale said. Dust storms, ice shards. Old battle junk. If the numbers look right, they'll buy it. For a while, he pulled up the failure form. Facility Outpost 7K. Ouchi Belt status. Lost cause. Structural collapse following destabilization of buried Varelli beacon. Total loss of primary dome power systems. Compromised. No confirmed survivors. He typed with quick, neat strokes like a man filling out a normal damage report. Darren swallowed. "You're really writing us dead," he said. "Yes," Hale said. Liara watched his hands. "You are good at this," she said. "I've done it before," Hale said, not looking up. After battles, after storms, after mistakes, names, numbers, causes, it all becomes the same shape after a while. He stopped, fingers hovering. Over the submit key. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. "You can still step back from this. You can come with me, Lieutenant. You can go somewhere with more people than broken machines. And a single alien engineer." Darren looked around the command room. At the patched panels, at the faint green light leaking from hydroponics beyond the door, at Lyra's chalk marks on the wall, at the toaster. Sitting on a small shelf someone had bolted in here, as a joke, its little sticker face watching the screens. The station hummed around them, not just as a machine now, but as the strange living place they had made together. "I've had my fill of bigger places," he said. "This rock is weird and small and half broken. But it's honest. And it's ours." Lyra's eyes shone just a little. "I stay," she said. "If he stays, I stay. If he goes, I still stay. I have nowhere else I want to be." Hale looked at them both, then let out a long breath. "Then this is it," he said. He hit submit. For a second, nothing changed. A small packet of data shot out from the station, raced along the flickering lines, and vanished into the wider net. Outpost 7K. Lost. No survivors. A dull, final line in some far-off database. A case closed. Central will send a confirmation burst in a day. Or two, Hale said. A "sorry, you're dead" ping. You won't answer. After that, you'll just be a footnote, like so many others, the AI said, softly. Hale stood. "Next, you need to hide your power use," he said. "If you suddenly drop to 0, that looks wrong. Dead stations still leak a little. I can build decoy trails." Liara said. "Small, random flares. Far from here. Make it look like pieces of us drifted off when the dome blew." "Can the AI help?" Darren asked. "I can generate false logs," the AI said. "Record phantom maintenance checks. Ghost crew names. Fake repair attempts. Scatter them through the network for a while. It will look like a salvage team came, poked around, and left." Darren blinked. "You can do that? You gave me more adjectives," the AI said. "I found extra room." "Good," Hale said. "Do it. Keep it quiet." "Yes, Commander," the AI said. I will lie for you. The toaster beeped. I can burn fake dates into toast, it offered, if that helps. That does not help. The AI said it might, Liara said, smiling faintly. For morale, they worked for hours. Liara moved through the station like a storm of small changes. She added little boxes of her own making to power lines, each one set to bleed a tiny random amount of energy at odd interspace as harmless static. She set up a cloaking net around the main dome, a loose field of weak, bouncing signals created from old antenna parts and scraps of Virelli metal. It did not make the station invisible. It just made scans trip over themselves, seeing harmless empty dust where 7K stood. Think of it as a fog, she said. Not a wall. A scanner will ping, get muddy data, and move on. There are many more interesting things in the belt. Hale watched, helping where he could, holding panels, lifting heavy parts, pointing out which systems Central watched closest. Do not turn your main reactor off fully, he warned. Even dead stations keep a trickle. Too clean is as suspicious as too loud. Well, keep a heartbeat, Darren said. Slow and quiet. As they worked, small things kept happening that made the risk feel more real. A minor tremor shook the station as Liara retuned the gravity plates near the dock. Everyone grabbed for something solid. Dust fell from a seam in the ceiling, like fine gray rain. Structural stress within safe limits, the AI reported. You do not have nerves, the toaster said. I am developing them, the AI replied. Later, a central ping came in. A simple, calm question. Status update. Request. Outpost 7. K Respins. Edid. 24 hours. Hale answered it from his chair. Face set. Already filed complete failure report, he typed. Standing by for decommission order, he sent it with his high-level code that would shut down further questions from middle offices. Once they log this, no one short of an admiral will even see your name again, he said, and admirals are busy. Darren imagined his file, long and messy, now ending with a neat line. Presumed dead, he felt strange. Lighter and heavier at the same time. At some point, Hale's security officers came to him quietly. Sir, one said, helmet under his arm. This is really happening? Yes, Hale said. You're part of it now. Too late to pretend otherwise. The officer swallowed. My brother was on a Virelli front, he said. He didn't come back. I've been angry for a long time. It's strange to be helping her. Liara, standing near, heard. She did not look away. My cousin died on a human world, she said calmly. He was 15. We have anger too. The officer shifted. I guess. If both sides keep collars on each other forever, we never stop being at war. He said slowly, we are trying to cut one collar, Liara said. It will not fix everything, but it is something. The officer nodded once, unsure but not turning away. By the time their work was done, the station felt different again. Not just tuned, like when Liara first arrived, hidden, curled in on itself like a quiet animal in a burrow, watching the world from the dark. They gathered in the common room one last time with Hale and his team. The toaster had gone all out for the occasion. It had printed tiny star shapes into the toast by varying the burn in little dots. Celebration bread. It said proudly, "For your fake funeral." Morbid, the AI remarked, but there was a hint of dry humor in its tone. They ate standing up, cups of thin tea in their hands, plates balanced on the patched table. "So," Hale said, looking around, "you have air, water, food plants, a power core that will last another 10 years if you're kind to it, a station AI with a questionable attitude, one Virelli engineer, one human commander, one very proud toaster, and no backup from Central ever again." "Sounds about right," Darren said. "It is enough," Liara said. The green line still glowed. "The leash still pings," he said. "Central will see it for a while, then lose it in the noise cloud we built. But as long as it's there, there's a chance someone very bored might notice a stray signal with no station around it." "I know," Liara said. "That is why we keep going." She picked up a small flat device from the table. Darren recognized it. A hand-sized plate she had carved from spare hull metal and Virelli parts, studded with tiny dull crystals. "What is that?" Hale asked. "A keyhole," she said. "Not a key. I cannot break the leash, but I can bend its neck." She stepped close to Darren. "Hold this here," she said, guiding his hand with the plate toward her collar. He hesitated. If this goes wrong, it kills me," she said calmly. "Better that than a life waiting for them to pull the string from far away." He swallowed. "You're very calm about that." "I have died in their files once already," she said. "This is just catching up." She gave a tiny, crooked smile to soften the words. "Trust me. I know these signals. I built part of the leash design before I knew what it would be used for." That shocked him. Then he realized, of course, she had. An engineer in a war never saw the whole picture until it was too late. He pressed the plate against the side of her collar. "AI," she said, "watch the signal. If it spikes too high, I will scream," the AI said. "Figuratively and maybe literally." "Ready," she said. Darren braced his feet, heart thudding. "On 3, he said. 1, 2, Q." She closed her eyes. 3. She pressed her fingers against the plate, triggering it. At once, a sharp high tone filled the small room, just on the edge of pain. The collar's green line flared bright, then blinked wildly. "Signal spiking," the AI said. "Control channel flaring. This is not fine. This is not fine." Liara's jaw clenched. Her fingers dug into Darren's wrist. He held firm, not daring to pull away. Then, slowly, the light on the collar dimmed. The sharp tone dropped into a soft, low hum, then faded out entirely. On the screen in the corner, the leash status line, which had been a steady, clear green, turned into a dull, thin yellow. "Report," Darren gasped. The leash is still there. The AI said, tone odd. But its link is fuzzy, like someone stuffed its ears with cotton. Remote commands will have trouble getting through. Pings will bounce. If Central looks, they will see a weak, dying signal. Then nothing. Liara opened her eyes. How does it feel? Hale asked. She touched the collar lightly. Lighter, she said, like a heavy hand moved away, but left a bruise. Can they kill you with it still? Darren asked, she thought. Then nodded slowly. If they send a strong enough push, yes, but they would have to aim very hard through a storm. And storms move. It's not gone, Darren said softly. No, she said, but it is no longer a leash. More a broken rope. I can step out of some of it. Darren let out a breath he felt like he had been holding for weeks. Hale looked shaken. You're both crazy, he said. But you might just live. He set his empty cup down and straightened. The neat lines of his uniform seemed sharper in this worn room. I have to go, he said. If I stay much longer, my shuttle's track will start to look strange. And I have reports to send about a sad, broken station that tore itself apart and died alone. Don't make it too sad, the toaster said. We're not that bad. Hale surprised them all by reaching out to tap the toaster's metal side with 2 fingers like a captain patting a brave little ship. You keep them fed, he said. That's important. I will, the toaster said. It is my purpose. I take it very seriously. Hale turned to Darren, then to Liara. This is the last time I speak to you as a Central officer, he said. After this, if anyone asks, I watched you die in an accident. I could not stop. Darren nodded. If you ever need, I don't know. A place far from lines, he said. Well, be here or near here. Or somewhere quiet. Hale gave a small, real smile for the first time. If him smart, he'll never come here again, he said. If him very tired someday, I might forget to be smart. He held out his hand to Darren. They shook. Then he did something that made Darren's throat tight. He turned to Liara and held out his hand to her as well. The same way. Not to check her collar. Not to grab, just to shake, as equals. She looked down at his hand, then up at his face, surprised. Slowly, she took it. I regret what my side did, he said quietly. I regret what mine did, she replied. That will have to be enough for today, he said. He released her hand, stepped back, and squared his shoulders. AI, he said. Record final. Commander Riven Hale, departing Outpost 7K. Leaving Lieutenant Darren Holt and visiting engineer Liara Vey to their own devices, recorded, the AI said. Goodbye, Commander. Goodbye, AI, he said. Try not to drive them too mad. I make no promises, the AI replied. The security officers nodded awkwardly to Darren and Liara, then followed Hale down the hall. At the dock, the shuttle cycled, hissed, and detached. Through the small viewport, Darren and Liara watched it drift away. engines flaring to life, shrinking to a dot against the stars. AI, Darren said. Track the shuttle. Tracking, the AI said. It is heading toward the nearest major relay hub. Its log shows one dead outpost and a damaged beacon. No mention of ghosts. And a damaged beacon. The dot vanished into the dark. Silence settled over the dock. That's it, Darren said. We're gone. From their view, Liara said, we are still here. They stood there a while longer, shoulder to shoulder, watching nothing. Days passed. The first central confirmation ping came into the station's outer shell, skimmed along the new fog Liara had built, and slid away into the wider dark without ever touching the core systems. Message lost in transmission, the AI reported with strange satisfaction. Very sad, tragic even. No more pings came after that. Life on 7K shrank and deepened at the same time. Without Central to send reports to, Darren's tablet felt lighter. He still kept logs, but now they were for them. Lists of repairs, plant growth, silly records of toaster sayings. Hydroponics grew strange and lush. The Virelli algae spread, not just glowing green and blue now, but forming gentle patterns on the tank walls, reacting to Liara's soft hums and the wave device's shifting tone. Some of the leaves began to develop faint, natural light of their own, tiny dot points along veins. Biology out of spec, the AI said, studying the numbers, but all within safe range. Also pretty. You can say pretty, Darren asked. I can say many things now, the AI replied. You widened my tongue. Outside, Liara expanded the cloaking net into a simple shelter on a nearby rock, a small, unregistered chunk of stone a few kilometers from 7K, with a thin crust of ice on its shadow side. We should not keep everything in one egg, she said as she looked at it through the scope on the roof. If something hits the main dome, we lose both of us. In one egg? Darren said, she thought. That is not the saying, she admitted. I am still learning your farm words. You're close, he said, smiling. They used a small cargo pod Hale had quietly left unlocked to move supplies and a bit of equipment across a narrow stretch of space. Under Liara's guidance, they cut into the rock and hollowed out a simple chamber. Gravity there was even lighter than on the moonlit 7. Every step was a slow bounce. Inside the new hollow, they spread sealant and laid down recycled panels, set up a tiny air recycler and a spare tank of water, rigged a line of lights. They did not try to make another full station. Just a backup room. A safe hole. While Darren bolted down the last of the floor plates, Liara stood at the narrow entrance, looking out at the starfield. This sky feels different, she said. It's the same stars, he said. Yes, she said, but we are not in their lines anymore, so they look new. He joined her at the entrance, shoulder brushing hers. No helmets here. The small chamber already held thin, fresh air, thanks to the little recycler humming away. He breathed in. The air tasted young. "Welcome to our off-grid sanctuary," he said. "Population 2+ toaster." "The toaster will not fit in the pod," the AI noted through a small speaker Liara had installed. "We can make a copy of its brain," Liara said. "Slice a bit for the new place." "I object to slicing," the toaster said, from back on 7K. "I am whole." "Well, make you a cousin," Darren said. "A rock toaster." "I accept this," the toaster said, "as long as I am the original." Back on 7K, life settled into a new rhythm. Shared meals. Work in systems old and new. Evening tea on the rooftop, watching a sky they now knew they had stolen themselves into. Some nights, Darren woke from dreams of earth with wet cheeks, the taste of rain and smoke in his mouth. He would get up quietly, pad down the corridor, and find Liara already in the common room, sitting with her feet resting on the table, watching the algae glow through the hydroponics window. "Couldn't sleep?" he would ask. "The stars were too loud," she would say. Or, "They did not talk much on those nights." They did not talk much on those nights. They just sat near each other, sharing the same quiet. On a day that felt like spring would on Earth, even though there was no real spring here, the toaster did something new. Darren put in 2 slices as usual. The toaster hummed thoughtfully. "You have been looking outward a lot," it said, "toward the belt." "Yeah," Darren said, just thinking. "What do you see?" the toaster asked. "Rocks, dust, stars," Darren said. "The usual." "That is not all that is out there," the AI put in. "There are other forgotten stations. Small miners, stray ships with patched hulls. Places that might like a quiet friend." Liara, sitting at the table, perked up. "What are you suggesting?" she asked. "I am not suggesting anything," the AI said carefully. "I am noting that your cloaking and ghost patterns could be extended. You could move a little. Not enough to light up big scanners. Enough to visit who?" Darren asked. "People like us," Liara said softly. "Leftovers. Tired ones. Children of war. We could share what we learned. How to be a little less watched." The toaster beeped. "Toast ready," it said. The slices popped up, hot and golden. But instead of simple words or stars, the burn pattern this time was strange. Thin lines and dots. More complex. Darren frowned. "What is that supposed to be?" he asked. "A star map," the toaster said happily. "I asked the AI for coordinates of nearby quiet rocks and small stations. I simplified them. This trail leads away from here, in a safe circle. You could follow it, if you wanted." Liara picked up a slice, eyes bright. "It's real," she said. "Look, this cluster here, that's a group of minor stations on the edge of the belt. This curve, that's the arc of a fuel route. No one uses much now. You drew a path." "I sear with purpose," the toaster said. "It is what I do." Darren looked from the toast to the window where the stars lay scattered like salt across black velvet. "We just got free," he said. Now you want to go flying off again? We would not have to go far, Liara said. We could just peek, see if there are others who need a place to rest, or we could stay. That is also a choice. He thought about it. They had broken out of a huge system, not with guns, but with forms and cables and quietax. They were free now, in a way that felt almost scary. The future was a wide, dark with no map. But maybe they could draw their own. We don't have a proper ship, he pointed out. Just the cargo pod Hale left. We can turn this whole station into a slow ship, Liara said at once. Eyes gleaming. Not fast, not flashy, just drifting. Hopping rock to rock, hiding as we go. The AI hummed. I can calculate routes that keep you away from major lanes, it said. It will take time. Years, maybe, but time is something you now have. Darren looked at Liara, at her eager, careful face, at the collar around her throat, now dull and quiet, no longer burning her name into some far-off screen. Then he looked at the toast again. A star map on bread. A joke, a gift, a plan. He laughed, low and real. Fine, he said. Well, see, for now, let's call this future homework. Liara smiled wide, no longer hiding it. Homework, she said. I like this word. It sounds like work done to keep a home. That's closer than you think, he said. They took their toast and tea up to the rooftop shelter. Outside, the light was thin and sharp. The half-shaped moons and scattered rocks of the Ouchi Belt hung around them, quiet and indifferent. Far beyond, the faint glitter of distant traffic lines showed where the bright parts of human space pulsed, busy and loud. Here, it was just them, no commands coming through the speakers, no forms forcing them to call people assets, no leash pulses under the skin, just two tired survivors sitting under a clear dome, sharing warm bread and a strange, careful peace. What do you want this place to be? Darren asked after a while, watching her watch the sky. She thought for a long time. A sanctuary, she said at last. A place that does not ask, what can you do for me first? A place that says, you are tired, sit, breathe. Sick, breathe, he nodded. I can live with that. And you? She asked. What do you want? He looked out at the stars, at the tiny glowing dots of bioluminescent algae below, at the small path burned into toast cooling in his hand. I want, he said slowly, to stop being someone else's tool, to build things that don't hurt people, to fix small, silly problems instead of big, bloody ones, to meet whoever we meet out there as neighbors, not targets. He paused, then added, voice very soft, and I want you to never have to call yourself asset again, not even as a joke. She looked at him, eyes bright and dark. All at once. I will not, she said, not while we have breath. They sat there until the sun slipped a little lower, and the shadows stretched long. Below them, outpost 7K, now a ghost on every map that mattered, hummed and shone and lived, not as a key station, just as a small, stubborn place that had refused, in a quiet way, to be what its owners wrote on its file. Somewhere far away, in a clean office under warm lights, a file lay closed with a single, neat line. Outpost 7K lost. K Stru status closed. No one there knew that on a tiny unregistered rock, under a new sky, two people who were supposed to be owner and property had chosen something else. They had chosen to treat each other not as tools, but as partners. They had taken a broken outpost and turned it into a hidden home, and now, with a quirky toaster printing star maps on bread, they sat together and looked outward, not as soldiers or assets, but as free travelers, deciding quietly, gently, what to build next.